Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. You're in for a treat tonight. My guest, who is one of the 150 authors that will be at the Sunshine State Book Festival in Gainesville, Florida, January 27th and the 28th. Jill Clark. She is a children's author and speaker and teacher and has developed some incredible things to help children who have challenges learning to read, tools for teachers and tools for their parents. Jill, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
What made you start thinking about writing children's books? You have two books. One, Where Balloons Land, is your most recent, right?
Yes.
And the other is Loose Balloons.
Yes.
Jill, I used to be afraid of balloons.
Yeah, and I have an environmental commentary in the books and also on my website, because balloons are very bad for the environment and animals and water and almost all creatures. So this is a metaphor, and it's eclectic poetry. And so where do balloons land? They land wherever they land.
So this is not, a way to weave in something about the environment, where balloons land, but then loose balloons. So let's talk about Loose Balloons first and how you decided. It's a collection of poems.
Yes. And this particular first book is for ages 3 to 10, because if you want me to show it to you, I could.
Please do.
Okay, the cover is quite engaging. It's by Brandy Winston, and it has, I don't know if you can really see it, but those are characters from the book inside the balloons. And each poem is a narrative and a little story, and there's a lot of humor in it. The idea is to get children away from television sets and their electronics and have them pick up the printed word, fall in love with it, and keep going back and back to that, and let that be their habit.
So you taught school.
Yes.
So what is it that you feel like you bring to writing children's books as a result of you teaching?
The literary, I taught English, I taught writing, I taught creative writing, I taught reading. And so there's that huge foundational background, and I was, part of the curriculum writing in many of the schools. And I think I myself have ADHD, and you can have a great teacher, but your mind starts wandering. So I wanted to get writing that was humorous. I had a student say to me, I said, well, what can I do for you students? At the beginning of the year, I asked them that. And one student said, be funny. And so the books there's a lot of humor in them. Some of them are serious, but they have some kind of a moral, I guess you'd say, or a right and wrong, or help them with decision-making commentary in them.
And so your student that said, be funny. Are you funny?
I am naturally funny, and I know it doesn't sound too funny to say that, but the reality is I'm not enjoying myself, right? I'm not enjoying myself unless the conversation can have a little bit of humor inserted, irony, something to keep it not so serious. And then to me, the perspective is much more balanced in whatever we're talking about.
So this opportunity for parents and people who know children that they're getting gifts for this holiday season, this opportunity to teach children to hold a book, to read a book, and to enjoy reading, and that mainly comes from the adults in their lives, right?
That's right. And that's the idea with this book at the younger age. The parent or a guardian can go through the different pictures, and they can point out, they need to read the poetry to them. It's musical, it's rhythmic. And then They can point out the characters, their little stories, and then it's an interchange between the adult or an older brother or sister, someone that can read. It's a nice interchange. It's a bonding moment. And then as the child gets older, then the humor, they'll start catching some of the humor. And so it's really, I would say, multi-tiered as far as interest by the child and how you handle the book. And then I have these art activities and fun activities that I present in public schools, Zoom activities particularly.
So you write the book, but then it encompasses the child, parent, grandparent, friend, whoever, older sibling who can read to them, but also the worksheets that you take to the schools. Tell us about how that would work.
Okay, so now you know it's a bad word to say worksheet, right?
No.
So I'll give you an
What are you
example.
supposed to say?
Art activity,
Art
something like that.
activity?
Yeah, because worksheets, a lot of the teachers do kind of put on students, and I've been told, a worksheet. You're giving us a worksheet because you don't want to teach today, right? So there's a lot of connotation to worksheets. But as an example, one of the schools, Wright Elementary, I do poetry in pajamas, and the kids, they actually are in pajamas. It's a Zoom fun activity. They have popcorn, it's a fun thing. Parents are there and everything. And then I work with the student to, it's a holiday activity, and we kind of find out who they're particularly appreciative of. Who do they think of over the holidays? Who makes them happy? Who brings that moment to them? And then we start working with descriptive words. Describe this. And they can also sketch or write, draw, whatever they want to do. And then after we get to the point where they put a series of words down, we get, kind of up the ante a little bit and get the words a little bit more descriptive. And then they might start telling a story about that person. And it could become a poem. It could become a very short, story, whatever they want to do. Some kids that are really don't write well might like to just draw that. And then after they do that, we talk about them and they fold them up. I send these envelopes, red envelopes, and they have lines on them. And so the kids learn how to address an envelope. And then they can either put that envelope, we talk about where the stamp goes, and the teacher or the parents help them with that. And then they either walk outside and they mail that to that person that they've written this about, and they mail it to them from their own, mailbox, and put the little flag up, or I have a picture of their actual, from the school, that town, I have a picture of their post office. And I said, or you can go to this post office. And so that's what we do. And somebody has donated the stamps kindly. And it's a really neat activity. That's the favorite activity around the holidays that I do.
Well, that is a wonderful activity, considering that we don't do much writing and mailing anymore.
That's right.
Do you have to explain that to the children?
No, because they have a mailbox out in front of their house, and most of them don't know how to do a return address or anything like that. And so that becomes a nice little instructional thing for them. Mm-hmm. And but I just love it because the kids start talking, and it's just a great interchange with and then we kind of get into their life, the most important people in their lives that way, and it becomes a personal experience.
How has the books that you've written, Jill, helped children who have learning challenges?
Just the interest aspect, I would say. I did had several people that have had children with learning disabilities, and one father contacted me and he said, I was not a good reader, and I see my daughter. He said, I don't know if she inherited it or what, but she's going through the same thing. And so it was really awesome because he read with her, because this is reading that is for a child. It's not simple reading, but it is for a child. And so he was able to read to her. And I think just her associating that reading with her father, who also was struggling and had struggled, I think there's that bond there, says something to them about the printed word.
And reading is such an intimate kind of thing that we can do with children, with each other for that matter. I mean, I think it's wonderful for mates, spouses to read to each other.
It's a great idea. Wonderful.
Yeah, it is. My mother read to us a lot. We saw her reading the newspaper and the Bible, and she'd buy children's books and read to us. So your books that you take into the schools, how do people get in touch with you if they want you to bring, or how's your schedule with that? Are you just doing Florida schools?
Yeah, I have 3 schools I do seasonal things with. And then generally speaking, you want to do this like when they have breaks, they're about to have a break, and the kids are, and the teachers are all kind of starting to relax a little bit, and they're having trouble getting the children's attention because they all want to, break out. And so I handle that way.
But are you open to other schools?
I'm open to all schools. It just so happens that the schools that I've been doing this with are Zoom. Through these Zoom lessons are all public schools, but I'm very open to private schools, to home schools, anything like that.
So you were a freelance writer.
Yes.
And so what brought your attention to writing poems and writing poems for children?
Shel Silverstein. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He's on the stamp now. The U.S. Post Office has him on a stamp now.
Oh.
And he had eclectic poetry. And then I was getting a good reception from traditional publishers about the poetry, but they said we want a theme. And then I thought about it and I said, no, Shel Silverstein does not have a theme. Where the sidewalk ends? No. And so I thought, what do I have here? And then the idea of, loose balloons became a theme to eclectic poetry.
So explain what that kind of poetry is.
Well, I have poems about reptiles. I know many people that are petrified of snakes. I'm from Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and my brother wanted to be a herpetologist. So he took me down into the woods. We handled all kinds of snakes. Now he only handled the poisonous ones, but we would put them in cages, feed them their natural diet, and then take them back out into the woods and release them. So really it just became a part of I never really thought much about it, but people almost have a heart attack over seeing a snake.
Well, yeah.
So it opens up a conversation where you can find out which snakes are poisonous, which ones you do have to be really careful with, and which ones, why are some in pet shops and can you buy them? And so...
let me just tell you, I'm that way about these lizards.
I love it. Do you die when you see a Geico commercial?
Or my son said to me one day when I was having a fit because there was a lizard in the room, and he said, "What are you afraid of? He's just trying to save you money on your insurance." Would you act that way if a duck walked in the room? The Aflac duck.
So he has a great sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, actually, we were at a Gators game, and the Geico thing suit, and I actually took a picture with it. I didn't look real happy, but I did take a picture. Well, look, I was down in Hollywood, Florida, Jill. I was down in Hollywood, Florida.
Oh yeah.
And I was going for a run. So I go to this park, Now, this is when I first moved to Florida. I go to this park and I see what I think is a statue of an iguana sitting on top of a thing is on the entryway of the park. And as I'm driving through, that thing did like that. I was like, what?
It was
Thank
alive.
God. Thank
Oh.
God that thing did that, because if I had been out there running and I saw one of those things, I would have been like Forrest Gump.
I love it. So no, that's a good point. Most of them, the lizards I think you might be afraid of, don't have teeth, just so you know, but they do bite you. They really try. And I've picked them up before because I like to get them out of the porch, and they always bite me. And I go, I'm on to you. You don't have teeth. And so I would just go out and I put them outside. But
You're so sweet.
yeah, I just love all of nature. So you'll see in the new book, or I have a poem about a centipede, and I talk about millipedes, and I talk about what I noticed. And this is the second book. Where do balloons land? The kids, the overriding question I get when I present is, how did you think of that poem? Why did you think of that poem? And they're very curious about the story behind the poems. And so in the back of this book, I have select poems where I tell them what was happening with me that provoked the writing of that particular poem. And it becomes kind of interesting. And then I get to get into my story about snakes and my brother and how all of this happened. And so they can, and I talk about, every kid needs a woods to go down into and to explore. And so I'm into insects too.
So what are some of the stories that inspired you to write some of the poems?
Let me just see. I'll go to the back of this book. See, here's some snakes, you guys.
Yay!
That's a blue racer.
Oh yeah.
And that is a very gentle ringneck that doesn't have teeth again.
Uh-huh.
And but
it's still a snake, Jill.
There's some of those do. So let me see. Okay, Missouri Summer Nights. I wrote a poem in here. I don't think you can see it, but all of these are illustrated too by Vivian Sayad, and also let me just pull one up so you can. Let me think of something a child might like. Let's see. One of them is how to handle a bully.
Oh, okay.
And then I give a poster to schools, and we have somebody that funds it. If a school would like a poster, it's called How to Handle a Bully. These are researched methods. There you go. These are researched methods of things that you can do to handle a bully.
Would you like to share that with us?
I would love to. Thank you very much. Let me put my glasses on, if I may. Okay, how to handle a bully. Tick, tock, bullies knocked. I answered not the door. Tick, tock, they slunk away, but then came back for more. Tick, tock, the bully socked and tried to push me down. Tick, tock, my chest puffed out. Staunch I stood my ground. Tick, tock, the bully scoffed and called me ugly names. Tick, tock, I smiled inside, ignored the ugly games. Tick, tock, my bully mocked my clothes and lovely face. Tick, tock, I danced away with confidence and grace. Tick, tock, my heart took stock in words my bully said. Tick, tock, I swam and drew and hiked outside instead. Tick, tock, the bullies hid in corners unsuspecting. Tick, tock, I walked amid the rays of sun reflecting. Tick, tock, they cyber-stalked to bully me online. Tick, tock, to leave or move, there also comes a time. Tick, tock, my bully warned my silence is a must. Tick, tock, I shared my plight with those whom I could trust.
Very nice.
Thank you. And I have definitions down here too on some of the words that might they might want to know. That way they don't have to go and look, every single word up, like staunch. It says noun, steadfast and loyalty or principle. In this case, respect of and loyalty to oneself.
Very nice.
Thank you.
An excellent teaching tool.
Thank you.
As I mentioned before, you're going to be one of the authors at the Sunshine State Book Festival. Hey, wait a minute, let's talk about the awards. Your books have won awards.
Thank you. You are so kind to mention that. Yeah, this one, Loose Balloons, was a finalist in Florida Writers Association contest. And this one just a week ago, Where Do Balloons Land, just got a gold award. And I was really happy because when they announced it and they started talking about the book, I so thought it couldn't be me that I'm thinking, somebody plagiarized me. That sounds just like my book.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
They were talking about the book. It's your book, and you thought somebody stole your idea.
Yeah, I did.
That's funny. Congratulations, Jill.
Thank you very much, Pamela.
That's a big deal.
Thank you. Oh, I'm happy because that might mean more children would read it. And that's the goal.
And are you being put in libraries?
Yes, Loose Balloons is all throughout Volusia County Library, and that's the county that I live in. And then I will also work. This has just really been published about 3 or 4 months out. And then, but now that it has the award, it kind of gives me something a little different to talk about with the book. Uh-huh. And so, yeah, I'm also going to try to get this into libraries.
So coming to the book festival, have you been to other book festivals?
Oh, yes.
And so what is special about the readers being able to come, the Writers Alliance of Gainesville, their theme for this is bringing readers and writers together. What's special? What do you think people will get when they come to this book festival in January or go to any of the other ones?
The one that I went to before that they hosted, the great thing about that is you meet a lot of really good writers. And for writers to be attending these on a regular basis, they believe in their book. There's something good about what that writing is that they want to get across, whether it's children or adults or like you have a very sincere mission and something that's not really addressed a lot about, the art of forgiveness. And so you'll want to start doing that and getting that out there because there's some kind of healing, whether it's healing of a child that's had a bad experience with reading or, someone that can't get past their own selves with forgiveness. So, yeah, I love the opportunity of reading. Also, there's usually a children's audience there, and we get to read to them. And it's like, oh, that's what this is all about. It's that moment.
Well, yeah, and Pat, who is chairing the committee for the workshop of the festival this year, she talked about when she was a child and an author came to their school, and it was like she was in awe, like there's the person that wrote the book. And I think a lot of people, they purchase books and sometimes they don't even expect to ever meet the author. But
That's
these
true.
book festivals are a wonderful opportunity to be able to do that for you and other authors.
Yes.
So when you're looking at these 2 books that you've already done, do you feel like there's some more balloons in there, hot air balloons?
Yes, and I do want to mention that the titles are metaphors. For Loose Balloons is the idea of letting out your creative self, letting out your fun, your humor, your wellness, letting out your love for others and yourself. That's what's loose. But actually, balloons being let loose are highly dangerous to animals, to the waters, our oceans and our streams and rivers. They're deadly for insects. They just really are, very bad. Now, I've seen a few movies lately where they're showing contained balloons. They'll show a festivity and they have the display of the balloons are beautiful, but they're contained. And as long as we can do that, then we're, I think, a lot better off. But I just did want to note that environmentally, they're disastrous.
Well, what a wonderful way to put your poems out, but also giving this message on the environment.
Yes. And that's in the book. That's actually in both books. And I actually have some environmental poems in the second book. So,
Oh, really?
yes.
Huh.
And to help people become aware. I've got one called The Little Green Truck. I don't know if I can find it this fast, but I'll try to find it. And it's trying to make people aware of, it's something you don't think much of, and but that's the little green truck. And then I have one called West Indian Manatee. I don't know if you know about the plight of the manatee in
Let's that
Florida.
over a little bit more. The manatee. Tell us about the plight of the manatee.
Well, the manatee is starving to death right now because what they normally eat is being devastated by red tide and different, again, environmental things that are being put into the water. Do you want me to read West Indian Manatee?
Would you please?
I would love to. Warm ocean or a quiet bay will lull this gentle giant as she lolls and rolls to sway among the many grasses of the sea. Contented manatee, grazing, gracing languidly in underwater fields of weed, munching leisurely, with little need. Sacred sea cow, who adopts an orphan calf as if her own, but squeals and squeaks and screams if baby's lost alone. Protective manatee, lover of the temperate sea, mermaid to the ancients, wallowing in shallow shores, ocean reefs and coral floors. Friendly manatee, asks nothing of our earth but to browse and nibble water greens. Our legendary siren of the sea, peaceful manatee.
We know that there are all of these things, all of these living creatures on land and sea. And I really appreciate you incorporating them in this tool called reading for children to start thinking about it, because that's not on TikTok.
Good point.
And we need to start thinking about how we're living and existing with the animals, because we're all one, right?
That's exactly the point. If the manatees are dying, the water's impure. Something's happening. We survive on that same water. So yes, the connection between those two, you understand that totally. And this is a curious, gentle animal and this is our state marine mammal, by the way, Florida state marine mammal. And there's a history about that in the back and how to join Save the Manatee Club for students and things like that.
Award-winning author Jill Clark with two books, one, Loose Balloons, and the other one, Where Balloons Land. She is one of the 150 authors that will be a part of the Writers Alliance of Gainesville Sunshine State Book Festival, January 27th and the 28th of 2023. A great way to kick off your new year in January. But also, these books are available right now to put on your list, to put under the tree for some little people in your life. The books are written for children's ages 4 through 10. Is that correct?
Yes, that's in Loose Balloons, and the other one is 6 to 12.
6 to 12. So how can people get in touch with you or find your books to purchase?
They're both on Amazon, but also I have on my website, I have a catalog and you can order. I don't have just the books. I really get into the stories on these little narratives, that are called poems. And so I'm have other products. Like I have a poem called Old Dolls. So we have a doll here. I don't know if you can see it. It's hand knitted from Australia, and it follows the storyline that's actually in the poem. It's about this little girl that does not want to depart with her doll. And her mother's saying, hey, the parts are all over the place. The legs under the bed. Come on, it's time to throw this thing away. But this little girl is just really, serious about this doll, and the mother keeps saying all the things that are wrong with it, right? And the little girl keeps defending each wrong. And then at the very end, the little girl gets exasperated and she says, Mom, she needs me more than all my other dolls.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we've created that, and that's the little girl. Let me see. That's the little girl, and then she's holding her doll. The idea is that, of course, that mother let her keep her doll at the end.
Well, what a great theme in that, Jill, because it is those people in our lives who are broken, who need us.
That's it. You've got that right. And in fact, I have two dolls. One of them has a Velcroed foot. So the child that would like to play with that doll and wants the satisfaction of putting that doll back together, they can do that. And then one is in the whole piece. So, kids are different what they like. But anyway, on my website, Jill Clark, the number 2, right, WRITE at gmail.com, you can order the books, and you can also order some of the products that go with the book. And it's just a fun thing to do. And if you can't afford it and you want something, let me know and we'll work on it.
Oh, that's so sweet. And you sell them in bulk to schools, and you do these programs for them online?
No, I don't sell the products to schools.
No, the books.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I don't, what happens with the schools is they will maybe buy a class set or two, and then the teachers can take those same lessons, and I have the lessons for them if they want, but a lot of the teachers are really creative themselves, and they read the poems and they know what they need to do for their own students. And so they take those class sets and they can use them as they want to.
Well, Jill, I hope these books that you have written will help inspire some future writers, future artists, future poets that will just embrace these thoughts that we all have, embrace and then put them down on paper. So I really appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Pamela. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Again, Jill is going to be at the Sunshine State Book Festival on the 27th. That evening is actually a reception that the authors get to mingle with each other, and then the public is invited to come to that as well. You might be able to have some longer conversations. It's going to be at Trinity United Methodist Church in Gainesville, Florida on the 27th and the 28th of January. We do hope to see you there. I'll be there with my book.
Good. That's what I was hoping. Wonderful.
Yes, I will be there. I will be there. And look forward to meeting you in person.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you all so much for watching. Whether you're watching on Facebook, please like and share. On YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified when we add other fascinating and inspiring interviews. If you're watching on LinkedIn, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sharing this post. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. Make it a fantastic moment. We'll see you.